And welcome back inside Brunch from 107.7 in the morning. It's good to have you with me. Our guest scheduler this time is Mr. Kenny De Silva, having a little problem in the connection there. So as soon as we sort that out, we will get to him. So one of our guests scheduled for 11:30 is acquiesced to move into positions. And she, like the Children Authority, they are ready to serve and are happy that she's able to do the adjustment. She is Mrs. Rhonda Gregoire-Roopchan. She is Manager, Registry and Investigation at the Children's Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. I thank you very much for being so accommodating, and thank you for being with us this morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It is great to have you here. The Children's Authority is something that is in the news, has been in the news since its incorporation, and continues to be so, even more so because we are seeing more information coming out that telling us that predators feel it is more acceptable to continue abusing our children, one or two, because folks are no longer treating this as a taboo subject, and in fact reporting, and or because greater spotlight is being shone on the situation. I'm going to ask you, as manager of the Registry and Investigation Department, to make clear to our listeners what is the role of the Children's Authority.
Well, the Children's Authority, essentially, since the proclamation of 4 key pieces of legislation and on the 18th of May 2015, we've been given quite a number of responsibilities in terms of caring for and protecting children who are reported to us to be in need of care and protection. Mm-hmm. There are several units in the authority that have different functions. Once a call comes to the authority, we receive the report. Our responsibility then is to investigate the report to determine if a child is in fact in need of care and protection, and what are the steps that we must take to make sure that that child's safety is preserved. Children then are allowed to be assessed through our assessment function. Mm-hmm. If we determine that there are placement needs, that there are counseling needs, etc., an assessment will help to determine that, because the child will meet with a number of different professionals who will determine, based on what their conversation is with the child and a number of other important persons in the child's life, they will then make recommendations for placement and for treatment. The authority also manages the foster care system, adoption system, and we license and monitor community residences as well. So we have quite a wide range of functions, including support for the youth justice system also.
You mentioned, if you would just repeat those areas, you say you're also responsible for stuff like foster homes, foster care.
That's correct. So we receive reports, we investigate reports, we offer assessment to children to determine the best placement for them, and some of the placement options are managed by the authority, including foster care and adoption. And in terms of where placement happens at a community residence, a children's home, we also provide services for licensing and monitoring to ensure that the homes maintain standards that, benefit the children who are eventually placed in that type of care scenario.
Rhonda Gregoire-Roopchan is my guest manager, Registry and Investigation of the Children's Authority. We just understood the role of the CA, or the Children's Authority. It is true to say, because of that role, you are concurrent with the police department from the civil side as being categorized as first responders when a child is abused. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct.
Then I beg you to...
Once we receive a report at the Registry Department of the Authority, we then dispatch the case based on the content to the investigation team. The Authority has 2 investigation teams. We have an emergency response team, which, if the matter reported to us needs our urgent attention, immediate attention, this team, which operates 24 hours, goes and responds to the matter to determine what is the need for the child. In such cases, we work very closely with the Child Protection Unit of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. The Child Protection Unit actually goes out with us to investigate cases. The authority staff focuses on the psychosocial investigation, which focuses on the needs of the child. The CPU, the Child Protection Unit, focuses on the criminal investigation, gathering evidence for prosecution and laying of charges.
This is an area that's important to understand because for some reason or the other, there seems to be a conflating of roles, and as such, if there is disquiet by the citizenry about the speed of action from the police, they seem to link that with the CA. They are two separate areas, is that correct?
That's absolutely so. So when we go in to investigate as the authority, our focus is minimizing any risk that the child may be exposed to and treating with the needs of the child. Our permit does not allow us to take information with respect to evidence and laying of charges. We do provide support for the police, however, in giving services such as forensic interviews and forensic medicals that will help to allow them to gather the information that is needed to process their criminal investigation and advance it. But there's always room for improvement in terms of the matching of the speed of both the criminal and the psychosocial investigation outcomes.
There are many aspects of this I want us to delve into this morning, but I'm trying to lay the framework so everyone understands the role and the expectation of the CA. What is required by the Children's Authority when a report is made? If a citizen seeks to make a report, just that they know what they should be coming to you with.
Sure. Once you're calling the authority to make a report, your numbers are toll-free and 24 hours, 996 or 800-2014. A caller will meet with one of our registry staff members and they will need to give us information about the child who is in need of care and protection. We need specific information because once a report comes to us, we then try to find that child. So the child's name, the child's address, a name that the child may be called by, details of what has happened to the child. What do you suspect or have you known or did you see may have happened to that child to cause that child to need the services of the authority? Also, if we have information about the offender, particularly if that offender is found to be a child, because the focus of the authority is understanding as well that a child who is an offender may have been a child who is a victim. So we need to assess that as well. And then the reporter also has several options as to how they want to be contacted, if at all. Persons may choose to remain anonymous and not be contacted by the authority. They may choose to be contacted for further information in the process of investigation, or they may choose to just be contacted by the authority in order to simply give additional directions or whatever information. So the public has various ways of maintaining their anonymity.
We are speaking with Rhonda Gregoire-Roopchan of the Children's Authority. We are looking into the incidents where we see an upsurge in the number of reports coming about children being sexually abused. The increase in reports, would you say, is attributable to what? Social media access, greater awareness, people having removed the taboo and now feel empowered to report, or a number of instances being so many that it is merely boiling over and sitting on our tables right now that tells us we cannot gradually deal with this but must give it the attention of top priority?
Well, the authority has always known that there are significant amounts of reports of children who are being sexually abused or any type of abuse. However, the embarking on several public education drives, we've gone to schools, we've gone to members of the public, we've gone to churches, sharing what information and how they can report and what services we offer. And we found that this has had a significant impact on the number of reports that we receive at the authority. So I feel that now persons are able to report, they know where to report, they know how to report, and our staff are trained to pull the information from the reporter so that we can then support the child. And this has, for us, given us a greater deal of clarity, reduce the taboo, and so persons are now reporting a little bit more. But you're also quite right. Access to social media has also given us quite a number of leads in terms of cases that we need to work with. And so, persons are using all of these mechanisms to try to get information to us so that we can act.
This is one of the areas why I'm so perplexed because, one, the education drive that you have done, the awareness you have done, the availability of social media to report, yet we see an increase in this behavior. Are predators feeling that they can do so with impunity? Some argue because of the actionable rate that they feel they can in fact get away with this. Why you think we have this increase then, or seeming increase, now that folks are more aware and have greater channels to put it out? Is it because some of the predators depend on the family being too embarrassed, not wanting to go through the process, that they feel they can do this with impunity?
There's no issue of impunity. I think the increase in the number of reports is directly related to the increase in awareness that persons can report. So I wouldn't fathom that abuse is happening more than it has been before. But what I can say is that we are receiving the reports, and it's directly in relation to persons knowing more about what can be done through the authority by reporting. So what we're seeing is an increase in reports, not necessarily an increase in the phenomena of abuse, but we are now bringing it to the fore because we're giving persons an opportunity to say what they are experiencing.
Then I thank you because I re-engineered the question just to make that point very clear.
Sure.
It may not necessarily be a case of increase. It may just be a case of an increase in reporting. Speak to us about some of the symptoms parents or family members should look at when investigating abuse or child sexual activity. Some of the symptoms, please.
Well, a child who is being abused may feel guilty, may feel ashamed or confused. He or she may be afraid to tell someone about the abuse, especially if the abuser is a parent or a relative or a family friend. In fact, a child may have an apparent fear of parents, adults, caregivers, would not want to interact with friends. But these things are not in and of itself the remedy or the process of recognizing that there is abuse. Abuse may happen and we may not see some symptoms. So I don't want us to go out and believe that, okay, this child is not speaking to a friend and so that child is being abused. We need especially to, as parents, be open and clear with our children in terms of what are the changes in their behavior. Speak to them about what their day was like. Know their friends. Don't leave them in the care of adults who you do not know, and give them an opportunity to tell you what are their concerns with some of the adults in their lives. It's about communication and being able to look at the changes in your child's behavior and also allow your child to tell you what is happening. Many instances, we need to give our child a chance to see what is happening to us.
It is 22 minutes after 11. Rhonda Gregoire-Roopchan, the manager of Registry and Investigation of the Children's Authority of Trinidad and Tobago, is our guest. It is without question that when you have sexual activity forced on children, this is a case of criminal behavior, violence against a child. It is that violence against a child that may be one of the reasons why parents and family members may not want to report. So the question is their safety after they move. They want to move to protect this child. However, the same violent behavior they are afraid of from the perpetrator will keep them from doing so.
The adults, the parents, persons who know of children who are being abused have a legal responsibility according to the Sexual Offences Act, Section 31, to report to the police. And by extension, we ask that they report it to the authorities so that we can assure that the child gets help.
Well, that's important, but the whole question of the safety of the one doing the reporting,
sure,
is said oftentimes to be a reason why, some part of the reasons why folks don't come forward, because of the same fear of this family member and or spouse occasioning that violence against them. What protection is given them upon making the report?
The authority will not be able to provide outright protection, but we will work closely with the police to ensure that if there is a risk that is related to a criminal matter, that those persons receive help and advice. Our responsibility will focus on the safety of the child who is the victim of any abuse. And by extension, supporting the family members who can then provide an environment to which that child can return.
Thank you very much. There are two elements here. One of them that I sure is inimical to you moving forward is the question of folks making a report initially and then refusing to prosecute or to go through with the original complaint. That must be one of the problems you have.
Well, in terms of making the report, once we go out and investigate, we will make the steps needed to protect the child. In terms of the criminal investigation, as I said, that would be a part of the police purview, and they will then follow up. What is a challenge for us is when the criminal investigation does not result in prosecution to a child who's still saying to us that something is happening at home. That child then will not be able to return home if he or she has been received into care. And so that becomes a challenge in terms of returning the child to, an existing or familiar situation that may not be harmful to him or her.
Rhonda,
if the perpetrator is still there, then we may not be able to return that child.
There are many citizens who will see a situation where they see a child, for instance, who has missed school for a protracted period. They may see a situation where a child seems to be pulling to himself, not socializing. Sure. See different signs that they suspect. Some of what you mentioned as the symptoms and others, but they don't know what to do, and they don't know if it is within their power to go ahead and make the report and what happens. So, in the case where a citizen sees a child, looks to be abused and or neglected, what should they do?
Call the authority. Our numbers are 996-800-2014. When that call is made, we at the authority do not rely on the reporter to provide veracity for the information. We go out and investigate. We go out and determine whether the report is true and what are the levels of risk that the child is exposed to. So if you have the slightest suspicion that some kind of abuse is happening to a child, give us the opportunity at the authority to explore what you have reported to us and to determine what are the needs of the child. Even in the instance where the abuse may not actually be occurring as has been reported, there may be other needs that the child or the family may have that we can address or make referrals so that the child can then get connected to the relevant services needed.
I really appreciate the clarity you brought here this morning. Listeners, if you see something happening, just call. It is no longer on you. Once you have made that call, it is now in the hands of the authority. The onus is no longer on you to prove anything. It is up to the authority to continue and do that. Now, that telephone number for me, please, Rhonda Gregoire-Roopchan. Would you repeat those numbers slowly for our listeners?
Those numbers are
996
and 800-2014.
996
800-2014. 24 hours a day, you can get us at the authority to make your relevant reports.
It has been very kind of you, one, to accommodate me by doing the adjustment, two, for providing the information and the clarity. Rhonda Gregoire-Roopchan, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. I will be calling on you again in short order. I hope so, for some good news, better news than what we're discussing this morning.
Thank you again for the opportunity, and you're most welcome.
You have a wonderful day now. Thank you.